Hello guys, thanks for tuning in. Here's the build, hope y'all enjoy. So this is the enclosure. It's a JP plastics with acrylic doors. So I'm going to start with the ventilation. This is a 3M sticky hanger. You can get these at Walmart, Target, or any of your local stores. On the hanger, I'm going to hang this fan. It's going to push air into the enclosure to give it some good circulation. You can see the arrows there showing which direction the air is going to be pushed. So then, I'm just going to hang it on here, and we will test it later. So after installing the fan, I've gone ahead and installed the Zoom Edge Hydrotherm thermometer inside the enclosure. This is the unit itself with the little screen that comes with it. This will just be for showing me the temperature of the cool side of the enclosure. This is how I've hooked up all the wiring on the inside. Here you can see the white ballast for the LED plant growth bulb that I got from the Bio Dude. This is the bulb itself. This is the bulb when it's plugged in. Excuse all the dirt in the enclosure, I used it for storing cork bark and other materials before using it for this enclosure build. Now we have to find a way to hang these lights up. These lights come with a clear acrylic piece that you put on each side of the light to set it on top of an enclosure. It should look just like this. So this is what it looks like when it should be normally attached, but we're going to have to use these to hang it at the top of the enclosure. I've already installed these hooks before I started filming. I've gone through and drilled holes inside the pieces of acrylic so that they can hang nicely on the hooks. So I've gone ahead and installed the light onto the hooks. Now I have to install the thermometer for the cool end of the enclosure. These hooks I've put in here are 3M clear plastic hooks, and this is the thermometer. I'm going to go ahead and hang the cord on them. Now that that is installed, I'm going to install the thermometer for the Herbstat 1 heat controller. Next I'm going to install the misting system. This is a Monsoon. Next I'm going to install the misting system tubing. I'm going to slide it in through the same slots that the fan was put on. Afterwards I'm going to pull it through and attach it to the Monsoon system. So this is the enclosure with the heating, misting, and light systems set up. Now all I need is a little cord management. Ah, that looks a lot better. With everything plugged in, now I can see the temperatures from the thermostats. So for the substrate, I'm using some homemade stuff. For this, I started with putting lump charcoal, sand, cocoa core, orchid bark, and a few other ingredients mixed in. Since this will be more of a Sahara type build, I won't be adding a drainage layer. I'm going to push most of the substrate towards the back and keep the layer of substrate pretty thin in the front. This will allow me to put plants in the back and give some good visual range. So after all of that has been kind of pushed to the back, I'm going to add a couple more buckets of substrate. Then I'll come back and start adding different decorations and plants. So with the substrate in, I think it looks pretty good. I went ahead and pushed everything more towards the back of the enclosure, so now I think it's time we start adding some decorations. So for the centerpiece, I'm going to add a large piece of cork bark tube. This tube has one opening at the end and a Y to where there's two openings on the other end. Once I place it in here, I'm going to go ahead and try pushing it down into the substrate and build up a layer around the base of it. So now I'm going to add a half circle piece of cork bark. This is a larger piece and I'm going to place it directly underneath the heating element. And now to add a small cork round on the cool side of the enclosure. And next, another small cork round for the back of the enclosure. Now to add some plants. I have to be careful what plants I put in here because the animal that's going in can be quite destructive. This species is a terrace fern. This next plant is kinda like pothos ivy, but it's a little different. This is Peperomia scandens. It can tolerate pretty much anything you throw at it. This one likes the soil to kinda dry out before you water it again, so I think it'll do pretty well in this Sahara type enclosure. This third species is a species of fern. I'm not too sure exactly what it is, so if you know, let me know down in the comments below. Now with all the plants in, I think it's starting to look pretty good. Now to add some leaf litter. Here I have some oak leaves, sphagnum moss, and a few other leaves mixed in. I'm going to spread these around the whole bottom of the enclosure, and then we can go through and add some Springtails and Isopods. Here's a better view of it with the plants and the leaf litter. I think it's time for some Isopods and Springtails. So I have the Isopods and Springtails in that little container. I'm going to dig out a little spot, pour some in that corner and cover it up. Then I'm going to go to the other corner and do the same thing. Now with it set up, I'm going to go ahead and prime the Monsoon misting system. So the mister is spraying the water towards the front of the enclosure. We seem to have an issue because it's spraying the water right onto the door and it's leaking out onto my carpet. After a quick direction change, it starts spraying towards the cool side of the enclosure where most of the humidity will be held anyways. So if you're curious as to what animal is being put in here, I'll make another video of it soon. This is the end of the build. Thanks for watching. Hope y'all enjoyed.